Welcome to Hard Talk with me, Zeinab Bedawi. My guest is Rwandan politician Frank Habineza, who founded the opposition Democratic Green Party of Rwanda 6 years ago. He wants President Paul Kagame, who's been in power for more than 20 years, to stand down at the next presidential elections in 2017. Rwanda is arguably still in the process of recovering from the genocide of the mid-1990s, and the government has been praised for its success in alleviating poverty and bringing about reconciliation. But Frank Habineza thinks it's time for a change and has been critical of government policy. So, what can he offer a nation that's been so scarred by tragedy? Frank Habineza, welcome to Hard Talk.
Thank you.
How much support does your party command in Rwanda?
Right now, I think we are over, the support base is about 1 million. So we have membership now of over 200,000.
Population is about 12 million.
Yes, but we're still a young party, so we are building up structures. We now we have structures in almost half of the Rwanda, all 15 districts now. And we have 30 districts, so we are moving forward. You
are clearly an opposition party, and you are allowed to function in Rwanda. As Professor Anastase Shiaka, head of Rwanda's governance board, the body that registers political parties, says, we don't have any problem with Mr. Habineza and his party. It is his conditional right to return home, because you've been in exile, and his right to register a party, so long as it fulfills the requirement. We are a multi-party state. So just take us back to the reasons why you had to leave the country and why you've decided that it's now safe for you to go back and operate.
First of all, we launched this party, the Democratic Green Party of Rwanda, in August 2009. We were originally members of the ruling party. That's from its time in exile.
The Rwandan Patriotic Front, the RPF.
Yes, that's from my time in Uganda, most because it was founded in Uganda, so we're part of the youth movement.
You were part of that exiled Tutsi community that was, I know you don't like to use the ethnic labels, but you were in exile in Uganda at the time.
Yes, I was one of the people who actually returned in 1994, 2 months after the genocide. So anyway, we had the first chairman of the ruling party, the RPF, with me. I was my secretary general when I was starting this party, and many others wanted to bring up an opposition, but not just for the sake of opposition, but an alternative to the ruling party, because we saw that the main objectives the RPF had was to bring democracy, to bring social justice and so on. But when they had power from 1994 in 2000, we saw that they were more concentrating on having political power, and they were forgetting some of the real issues like democracy. We did not have any political opposition and so on. So
you formed the Democratic Green Party, and yet in 2009, but in July 2010, the vice president, the deputy leader of the party, Andre Kagwa-Ruisereka, was found dead, apparently repeatedly stabbed. He'd even been decapitated. You went to the morgue and identified his body. And then you fled to Sweden because you were concerned about your own safety.
When we started this party, we faced a lot of challenges. We were beaten up in our congresses, meetings, physically beaten by people. Some of them, people saw they had some guns, pistols and so on. The police stopped us completely to do our meetings. We asked for permissions, could not get them. And we tried from 2009, 2010, it was very difficult. So by 2010, the atmosphere was very bad. Even me, I had death threats. One of those threats had been published in the newspaper, Umuseso, that I would be killed in 60 days. So we were all very scared.
So you left. But then I have to ask you, you're back in Rwanda. 2 or 3 years later, you went back. You've got your party. You speak openly, you're doing this interview. And you intend to go back to Rwanda. Now you're not scared of your life, for your life anymore.
Well, I would say that we still have threats.
You're still getting death threats?
Not death threats, but we get threats. Some people tell us that, yes, we can be killed if we are not careful. So we try to do everything by law. We try to make sure that we respect the laws, and we try to make sure that we avoid, as a party, we avoid things that can lead to military conflict or armed conflict, things like that. So we try to do our politics, but diplomatically.
And you feel safe now?
I could say not 100%, because even last year in October, I had some issues. Even in November, I had some issues myself, but they were not death threats, but there were some concerns and threats and so on.
But you feel you can?
And one of our executive committee member, the National Organizing Secretary, is missing since last year. So people are very concerned. It's called Jean Damascene Munyeshaka. He went missing in Bugesera town and Bugesera district in Nyamata town. And we took this issue to the police and even to the Minister of Security. Now we have taken the dossier to the public prosecutions to investigate the matter, because it's 1 year now, we cannot see him. We have in other members.
So you still believe, so you are still claiming that there is harassment against you?
Yes, we actually wrote to the President.
Have you got enough?
President Kagame last year. We explained to him all those threats we have been having.
And what did he say to you?
Well, the President didn't respond to us, but he asked the Minister of Justice and the Rwanda Governance Board to look into our issues.
But you know, the government says, look, there is pluralism, political pluralism in Rwanda. The parliament has got 2 or 3 other parties that are directly elected. There are also representatives of women and youth groups, and we know that the Rwandan parliament has got 64% of its members are women, that there's a national dialogue which allows the governed to engage with the governors, and that's been praised by a UN official, Carlos Lopez, United Nations Economic Commission for Africa. So the government would argue that there is space for democratic activity. Well,
this is our main message that we have been saying to the government, that we need them to open up a wider political spectrum for everyone to participate, because the parties that have the space are the parties which have been in the Arusha Agreement. You know, after the Arusha Agreement was the negotiations which were aimed to end the war between the RPF and the former government. So these parties which don't participate in the genocide, like the Social Democratic Party and the Liberal Party, are the ones which were there then, are the same parties which they are still they are in parliament, but they're also in the government. So it looks like it's the same arrangement from Arusha which is still going on. We have not seen the new parties here being active. So it's
but you're going to be allowed to stand in the next parliamentary elections, aren't you?
If we stand and we win some seats in the parliament and so on, then we will start counting that they will see the real change coming now. That will be new blood coming up.
There's a lot of discussion now on the continent of Africa in general, and about Rwanda specifically, on the issue of whether a president or a leader in Africa should have more than 2 terms in office. In Rwanda, the parliament, both the upper and lower house, have now ratified a new draft constitution which would allow a president to run for a 3rd term, and in addition to that, 2 further 5-year terms. If the people vote for this in the expected referendum, which hasn't been announced yet, we don't have a date for it, then why not? What's the problem if the people want it?
But you have to know that for us, we as a party, we have not been supporting that change of the constitution. We actually first wrote to the parliament in May saying that the constitution should not be changed, because we think that the changing of the constitution, especially the term limits, is a threat to sustainable peace and security. Because we need to have a transfer of power, which we have not had in the last 100 years. You have to mark that.
How do you know there'd be a transfer of power if there was an election? You're just guessing there would be a transfer of power.
That the current
you mean
president,
from president to a different president, or from a party to a different party?
Whichever. We needed to at least have a peaceful transfer of power from the current president to another president, peacefully, and we see the president sitting down and enjoying his life.
Regardless of whether President Kagame runs or not, I'm just picking up on your peaceful transfer of power, because we had the removal of the monarchy in 1959 in Rwanda, which was rather violent and so on.
And
but can I just ask you, peaceful transfer of power?
Yes.
Are you guessing what the outcome of the presidential elections in 2017 will be?
Well, right now, if the constitution is being changed, when people are saying that they changed the constitution for him, then it already looks like that 2017 is going to be there. So we have taken this case to the Supreme Court.
But who has said that the constitution is being changed for Paul Kagame to run again?
Some people from the cabinet, actually, from some ministers, started this campaign in 2010. Even before President Kagame took up the 2nd term, they started saying that they wanted him to continue.
In your view, is President Paul Kagame going to run for a 3rd term?
Well, he has not said so, and he said before that he will not do so. But
sorry, you said he has said before that he would not do so.
But recently
when did he say that he would not do so?
No, he said several times. I think even last year in 2014, he was saying the same thing.
What did he say specifically?
He said that if the time reaches and he's not able to have a successor, that he would have failed. That's what he said.
But that's not the same thing as saying I will not run for a third term or I will run for a third term. Saying if I have failed to find a successor is not tantamount to saying I will not run for a third term.
That he's not interested in that third term. That's what he said. Well,
I can tell you what he actually has said. I just want to get the facts straight because you are making the claim here that President Kagame is for sure going to run for a third term. But actually what he has said is, in an interview to Ugandan journalists in June this year, there is no doubt at one point I will be very clear myself where I stand and what I intend to do. There's no hurry. 2017 is slightly over 2 years to finish this mandate. In May, he said, I'm open to going or not going, depending on the interests and future of this country. So just want to clarify that President Kagame has not said he will definitely run.
There are some things he said before, that actually he's not interested even in the third term. He said that.
But the move has been approved by the Supreme Court.
Yes.
The Supreme Court Justice Sam Rugega has said that the draft constitution has been approved by Parliament. This paves the way for a referendum.
Yes. If
the people will it in this referendum, then the constitution will be changed. And we know that there's been a petition of 3.8 million people urging President Kagame to indeed stand again.
If it goes to the referendum, we have also said that we are going to run a campaign for the no change in this coming referendum. And we want to make sure that these points that we are saying, because for the last 100 years, we have not seen any peaceful transfer from one president to another. We have just seen bloodshed, even the true time of the kings.
So you're going to campaign? You're going to campaign for a no campaign?
Yes, we hope to do that. And we have already made it clear that they should expect that, and we are going to do it legally.
And have you? Yeah, but if the referendum votes to allow him to run, then you will accept the outcome, or would you challenge that?
The party is going to sit and discuss if it's a free and fair election. Of course, the party will accept if there's democracy. But if it's not free and fair election, then of course we will not accept. But that will depend on the outcomes. Yeah.
Because we have had elections, obviously, and I have to just say that the last presidential election in 2010 by a Commonwealth expert team reported that the election was conducted in a peaceful atmosphere. During the campaign, candidates enjoyed freedom of movement and assembly, and they did not report any incidents.
Yeah, but
and they said a similar thing about the parliamentary elections
myself,
in 2013.
The Commonwealth experts also say that there was no opposition parties in that election.
Are you fearful that there won't be a peaceful transfer of power, whatever happens in Rwanda?
Why we fear this is because we have seen like what is happening in Burundi. We see that when the presidents change the constitution, when the country gets into trouble, you see what is happening now in Burundi. We have seen what happened in Burkina Faso. When the president stayed on and wanted to change the constitution, things backfired and you see
It's a very different situation with Pierre Nkurunziza in Burundi and what's going on in Rwanda. Pierre Nkurunziza has been criticised by the United Nations for using inflammatory comments, whipping up ethnic hatred, and that is something which Paul Kagame has not done in Rwanda, where he actually proclaims we are all Rwandans. So I just want to make that point.
I'm just trying to make my point clear that where always a leader stays in power for more than 20 years, people sometimes are forced to use armed means to remove that president.
Yeah, but I was just picking up your comparison. I was just picking up the comparison there. But let's just stick with Rwanda, though. Yes. So whatever happens, you will support the outcome of the referendum, or you're fearful that after the referendum it will trigger violence?
We believe that, if the elections are free and fair, we'll accept the results of the referendum. And of course, we as a party, we are going to field candidates even for the parliamentary candidates in 2018. And if we are satisfied, we may, or if we are, of course, we will make some demands to the Electoral Commission. If we are satisfied, we have a level playing field, we may field a candidate for presidential elections in 2017. So that's what it is.
Would that be you?
Most probably it will be me or someone else in the party, yes.
Okay, just very quickly, on third terms, per se, they're not bad, are they? I mean, we've got democracies like Canada. Stephen Harper was recently running for a fourth term. He didn't win. Germany, you can run for more than 2 terms. So per se, they are not bad in themselves, are they?
No, the problem is that if a leader stays for more than actually 10 years, there's nothing new he brings to the board. Basically, you have done everything, so you need to have the new blood.
But there are lots of rulers who've been in power for more than 10 years all over the world.
You find them start doing the same things or actually undoing the good thing they have done. We have seen this like in Uganda, a good country like Uganda, where the president has been there now. You find that they're doing the same things and people start even not fearing the president. There's more corruption and so on. So like in Rwanda, we are a country which has not seen a lot of corruption. But we believe that when people get familiar with the president, they will start becoming corrupt and so on.
One leading businessman on the continent has actually said that he believes because of the horrible, exceptional circumstances in Rwanda where nearly 1 million people died, the ethnic strife where people were just butchering one another because of their different tribal, background and so on, that therefore you should make a special case for Rwanda perhaps and say, look, maybe we need a bit of continuity because we've not seen, thank goodness, a renewal of violence.
Our point as a party has been that the continuity we've seen there is continuity in Tanzania. After Mwalimu Julius Nyerere left, they have been able to serve 2 terms each leader, and there's been continuity. We believe that the ruling party, as a party, should have chosen someone else to stand, and that we believe that would have created a level playing field. Because if we see a person like President Kagame, who led the Liberation War and who has been there for the 20 years, dominating the political scene, so basically you find that it cannot be a level playing field in 2017 for someone else to stand with him.
Okay. Let's look at policy issues, because William Wallace from the Financial Times here says that President Kagame's policy has been very much based on the belief that the key to reconciliation is economic development. What would you offer a country that's been so scarred by tragedy? How could you make it even better?
So for us as a party, we believe that the key to reconciliation is actually democracy, grassroots democracy. We believe that if the people are more involved in their decision-making, people are able to exercise themselves freely, to have free speech, the newspapers to work properly, because we still have a problem with the media. If political parties, opposition parties can contribute, we believe that people will speak up what is in their heart, and finally, they would be able to build up the economy together. But if the economy is moving without democracy, then it's like building a house on the sand. So we believe the two must go hand in hand.
Because, basically you're bringing up a debate again, which you hear a lot about in Africa, about democracy in a way, if I can put it that starkly, democracy versus development. And, there are things, for example, again, Carlos Lopez, head of the United Nations Executive Commission for Africa, has said, look, we shouldn't really associate democracy in elections as a silver bullet. Polls show consistently, and he's talking about one in particular, Afrobarometer, looking at between 2002 to 2012, what Africans are most concerned about. And top was jobs and income, secondly, infrastructure, third, enabling economic and financial policies, and 4, inequality. So based on that, you could actually say development and these matters are much more important than what you've just raised, the kind of, the democratic space.
We are saying that we give example like when you see like in Zimbabwe, they had a lot of development. Harare was one of the best cities in Africa. But once they went down with democracy, everything turned the other way around.
But what do you say about this poll, that Africans say that
we are not opposed to that. We think
it is
important to have the good economy. That's not a question. But we believe that the two, economy and democracy, should go hand in hand. And we don't think that you should put more focus on the economy and leave down the democracy. But we think the two should go hand in hand. But also we have challenges. Even if you put efforts, we have income inequalities. I think you have seen the report from Trademark East Africa and the Institute of Sustainable Development, I think. They published a report last year where they called the State of Income Inequality in East Africa, where they said that Rwanda is the most unequal country in East Africa.
Are you disputing then that the applause that Rwanda has received from so many quarters, you cite this one report, but there are so many other reports that actually praise Rwanda as being one of the top success stories in terms of development, progress in development on the African continent? You dispute that? We
are saying that there's a fact, there are things which are visible, that there is development in Rwanda taking place. But we are saying the whole country is not going at the same pace. You see more happening in the capital, Kigali. We see some small towns coming up, but in the rural areas, it has not yet come out. So we still see.
But the government is tackling inequality in the rural areas.
40% of the national income is controlled by the 10%. So basically, you find that there are few people who have more resources than others, who are controlling almost everything.
But what about figures from the World Bank that has praised Rwanda's remarkable development successes, which have helped reduce both poverty and inequality? inequality. Life expectancy has gone up from 55 in 2005 to 64, nearly 10 years more in 2013. Health spending has tripled, more than tripled between 1996 and 2013. You know, left, right and centre, you get so many individuals and organisations saying, look, and you talk about rural areas, so I'll pick you up on that particularly. The Global Hunger Index, compiled by the International Food Policy Research Institution, based on data from the governments and UN agencies and the World Bank, said in October this year that in absolute terms, Rwanda is one of 3 African countries that recorded the biggest improvements in meeting hunger levels, even though hunger levels are still a big concern, are serious. So it is tackling inequality and the problems that you raise in rural areas.
We are not refusing that there has been progress. There has been progress. But we still say, we are saying there have also been challenges. This year alone, in 2015, we had in one this eastern province, a place called Bugesera. This was even published by local radios like KFM and the East African newspaper. People had actually to move like internal migration from their area to another areas where they did not have enough food.
Briefly, what policies would you offer to improve lives for Rwandans? Just give us a couple of eye-catching ones, briefly. Yeah, okay. Of course, we will put more efforts in the poverty alleviation program to make sure that we produce more jobs in the rural areas, make sure to promote small businesses and reduce, of course, taxation. There's been a lot of taxing small businesses, whereby some small businesses have been actually running out of the country, going to Uganda or to other countries like Zambia and so on. So we will see that we can promote an environment of small business, creating more jobs, green jobs also, promoting the green economy, making sure that everyone is involved. Of course, we will not leave out some good programs like education policies to make sure that people get more access to education. Of course, there has been good progress on that. It sounds like what the government is doing and what the government is saying. So I'm just trying to get what you offer that is different. I mean, you want to reduce defence spending, for instance.
Yes. Well,
is that a good idea when you live in a tough neighbourhood, Democratic Republic of Congo,
we
as
want
a neighbour?
to increase the budget more on, of course, on agriculture to make sure that we have more. I think that for defense, we believe that the defense of the country we cannot talk about only about having more guns and so on, but we also need to have food security. We also need to have good diplomatic relations with others. So we can put more efforts in the soft security.
You talked about businessmen and women leaving, but last year Rwanda jumped to 52 from 158th in the World Bank's Ease of Doing Business annual rating. So it can't be chasing away that many businessmen.
Well, they are attracting maybe foreign businesses, but the local businesses, we have been seeing that they have not been so happy with the taxation policy. So we actually made that point clear.
Bottom line is this. President Paul Kagame's government has delivered both stability and economic benefits and security for the people, and therefore they are going to back whoever is running for the RPF and not you. As you say, you're going to run in 2017 as the presidential candidate for the Democratic Green Party of Rwanda. They're going to back the RPF and not you, because he's delivered.
This is what we are saying, that people are saying that they have seen that he has been able to deliver. But we are saying if there is no, of course, this transfer of power, then, of course, there will be no chance of younger leaders getting into power. So it means that we are going to see the same faces all along for 20, 30 years and so on, 40 years. It means that the new talents...
He's delivered security and stability. Do you accept that?
Of course.
And people will vote for that?
Of course, we also can give peace and stability, because peace and stability is not given by one person. It's a collective thing. Everyone has contributed to that peace and stability. We have all contributed to peace and stability, and we are happy with that. But of course, we believe that if they create a level playing field, and the ruling party gives a different person, and other parties also bring a different persons, then we believe that we will have more continuity, but with stability, sustainable peace and sustainable security, and then sustainable development.
Frank Habineza, thank you very much indeed for coming on HARDtalk.
Thank you very much.